You know, it's something we do constantly, every single second of the day, and we barely ever think about it. But have you ever really stopped to consider the incredible journey that each and every breath takes? Today, we're going to dive into the amazing and honestly often overlooked world of our very own respiratory system.
Just think about that number for a second. Over 20,000 times. Today, your body's pulling off this complex, life-sustaining miracle. So, what is actually happening inside you during each one of those breaths? Well, let's follow the journey and find out. To really get it, we're going to follow the path of one single breath, right from the moment it enters your nose or mouth, all the way down through the airways and deep, deep into the lungs. This diagram right here, that's our roadmap for this amazing journey.
Okay, our journey kicks off right here, as air gets pulled into the main pathway that leads to the lungs. You can think of this as the entrance ramp to a pretty fascinating biological highway.
So the first major landmark our breath hits is the trachea, which you probably know as the windpipe. It is literally the superhighway for air. But what keeps this tube from just squishing flat? Well, it's reinforced by these strong, C-shaped rings of cartilage. They give it crucial support, making sure this vital airway always stays open.
Now, this single highway doesn't go on forever. It actually splits into two main branches. These are called the bronchi, and there's one for each lung. From there, the whole structure really starts to look just like an upside-down tree, branching out into thousands of smaller and smaller and smaller tubes called bronchioles that reach way deep into the lung tissue.
So we've got this amazing, intricate network of tubes. But let's be real, the air we breathe isn't perfectly clean. And our body has a totally ingenious solution for that, a built-in microscopic cleanup crew.
And this is such a critical question, right? With every single breath, we inhale not just air, but also dust, pollen, bacteria, all sorts of tiny particles. So how does this super delicate system avoid getting completely clogged up and infected?
Well, the answer comes down to two microscopic heroes that are lining our airways, goblet cells and ciliated cells. These two work together as a ridiculously effective cleaning team.
This process is so effective, it actually has a name, the mucociliary escalator. And it's basically a three-step deal. First, the goblet cells produce this sticky mucus that traps all that gunk, dust, bacteria, you name it. Then, these tiny hair-like things called cilia all start beating together in this coordinated wave. And that motion acts just like an escalator, pushing all the mucus and everything trapped in it up and out of the lungs. It's an amazing self-cleaning system. All right, now that our breath is clean, it can finally reach its ultimate destination. We are arriving at the most important part of the entire journey, the very reason we breathe in the first place.
So at the very ends of those tiniest bronchioles, our breath finally enters millions of tiny, bubble-like air sacs. These are called the alveoli. This is the end of the line. This is where all the magic happens. And what we see here is a close-up of just one of them, wrapped in a blood vessel.
I mean, the structure of the alveoli is just perfectly designed for this one job. Their walls are unbelievably thin. We're talking just 1 cell thick. And they're kept moist, which helps gases dissolve and pass through super easily. Plus, they are completely wrapped in this dense web of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. And get this, you have so many of these tiny sacs that if you could spread them all out flat, their surface area would cover an entire tennis court. It's incredible.
So this is it, the great exchange. It's a two-way street, and it happens at an incredible speed. Oxygen from the air you just breathed in diffuses across those thin walls and jumps into your red blood cells. At the exact same moment, the waste product from your body, carbon dioxide, diffuses out of the blood and into the alveoli, ready to be carried away on your next exhale.
Okay, so we know the path the air takes and what happens at the very end. But what's the engine driving this whole process? How do we actually pull the air in and push it out in the first place? Okay, here's a surprising fact for you. Your lungs contain no muscle at all. They can't expand or contract on their own. The real power for breathing actually comes from the muscles that surround them. The main players are this big dome-shaped diaphragm at the base of your chest and the intercostal muscles that are nestled in between your ribs. Let's break down exactly how this works. To breathe in, two things happen. The diaphragm contracts and flattens out, and at the same time, the external intercostal muscles pull your whole rib cage up and out. Both of those actions make your chest cavity bigger, which creates a vacuum that just sucks air into the lungs. Breathing out is usually pretty passive, but if you need to breathe out forcefully, your internal intercostals contract, pulling the rib cage down and in and squeezing that air out.
And here is the crucial detail. Muscles can only pull, they can't actively push. This is exactly why we need two opposing sets of those intercostal muscles. The external set pulls the ribs up and out to let air in, and the internal set pulls them down and in to force air out. They work in perfect opposition, like a tag team.
So from the branching airways and their little microscopic cleaning crews to the silent dance of muscles and the lightning-fast exchange of gases, our bodies perform this life-sustaining symphony over 20,000 times a day, and most of it happens completely on autopilot. It really leaves you with something to ponder, doesn't it? What other incredible, invisible systems are working tirelessly to keep you alive and well right this very second?